The Nintendo Switch is an absolutely incredible console for kids. Whether it's the fact that it can be played on the TV with parents and family, or taken portably to their rooms or whatever they want to do with it, the fact that it still doesn't have a lot of apps like internet browsers, Netflix, or anything like that, to where you have to put in too many parental controls, even though of course you can put in parental controls, and the fact that Nintendo has so many kid-friendly games make this an amazing console for kids. However, what are the best kids games on the Nintendo Switch? Let's find out. So there's really two kinds of games on this list. There are the single player experiences, what's just for basically for the kid, for them to play, for them to enjoy. And there's ones that can be played by themselves or with the family. Because let's be honest, your kid has a Switch, you probably want to play on the Switch too, right? Because a lot of these games are awesome. So I will tell you whether these games are single player or multiplayer, or if they're mainly meant to be single player, but there are a bunch of amazing games here. And first I want to start out with a game that is perfect for kids, perfect for the family, and that is Mario Kart 8. I've talked about Mario Kart 8 in a bunch of other videos before, but man, this game is one of the best racing games. It's the best one on the Switch by far. It can be played with multiple players. You can play up to 4 people, I think, locally, and 8 people when they have multiple Switches together. You can play online, or you can just play single player in your house. There's almost 50 tracks. There's a ton of different characters, a bunch of customization options for your kart. There's just so much to do in this game, and because they're single player, you know, your kid can take it on the go, they can be in the car, and they can play. There's no mature content in it. This is a game that is made for families and for kids. So whether it's playing single player in the car while they're driving to school and they can just play race around a couple tracks, or playing as a whole family, being able to sit around and race each other, it's just such a great game to play. So I would recommend Mario Kart 8 to anyone who has a Switch, especially with kids, because this game is a blast for anyone to play. And the learning curve of Mario Kart is not that hard. After a few races, they'll get it, and there's multiple difficulties. There's things like smart steering that will help them stay away from the edge. So even if you have a really young kid, it'll work really well. I have an autistic sister that plays Mario Kart 8, and she can't really handle fast-paced crazy games, but she can play Mario Kart because of things like the smart steering and the difficulty levels, where she can work up as she gets better and better. But even for her with a small attention span and having autism, she can still play Mario Kart 8 well and win first place a lot of the time. So this is a great game for kids. Another game from one of Nintendo's prominent franchises that is amazing for kids is Super Mario Odyssey. The reason for this is Super Mario Odyssey has an incredible amount of content, but to beat the regular game, just to get through the normal stuff, it's really easy and most people will be able to do it. And while there's not much of a learning curve, there's actually a lot of fun to be had beating puzzles and getting over sections. For instance, you run around as Mario, you know, you do your regular jumping and you're climbing on walls and climbing up poles and jumping around. But the cool thing in this game is you have Cappy, which is the thing that took over your cap, where you can actually throw your hat onto other enemies and become those enemies. So you have to cross a big ravine. You might need an enemy that can run fast and jump far. You need to get up a high wall, take over a frog who has a huge jumping ability. You need to get up to a high ledge, stack a bunch of Goombas on top of each other that you can walk around as a huge stack of Goombas. One of the cool things about this game is that it really is approachable by anyone, and once you beat the game, a bunch more areas open up and it gets harder and harder as you go. So maybe your kid won't be able to beat the entire game, but the main story, the thing that really pays off, they can beat. And as they get better and more proficient, they can continue to get achievement upon achievement and get more moons and feel better and better about themselves and continue to get better. And that's one of the amazing things about Super Mario Odyssey. The game looks great, it plays amazingly, but it's really set up to where it's very easy to get through the regular stuff, but then it gets more challenging as time goes on and as you get better and better, and maybe in the case of a kid, older and older, they can do more and more in the game, and that's really awesome. So this is another game I'd recommend. You can also play this game in co-op. While it's mainly meant to be played single player, someone can have another controller and control the cap and just fly around as a cap all the time and take over enemies and attack stuff. So it is possible to play, like for instance, a father-son, mother-daughter, father-daughter, whatever you want to do, you know, that you could play with a kid and be an adult as well. Maybe to get them past the hard parts, but they can still feel like they're playing it and beating it with you. So Super Mario Odyssey is a great choice as well. So next we've got a pretty weird game, and that is Rocket League. Rocket League is the sports game that isn't a sports game, because basically what it is you're playing soccer with cars, and instead of having all of the complicated rules and things of soccer, all this literally is you're just driving around a car, you can jump and you can turn, and you're smacking a soccer ball and trying to hit it into a goal post. It's really simple to understand. It's easy to play but hard to get good at, and that's why I think it's a good game for a kid, because anyone can jump in and enjoy it and have a bunch of fun. But to really get good at it, it does take some time, takes some skill to learn and better reflexes, and that's something that can really help a child out. So I think that's really cool. There's obviously no mature content in this game either. You're literally just driving around a car and you're jumping and you're trying to hit this ball in, and it's so much fun. It might look kind of weird from the footage, but I promise you it's a ton of fun, and it's only $20 to buy on the Nintendo eShop, and it's a bit more expensive in store because it comes with like a collector's edition and stuff. So that's the only way to buy it. So I think it's $40 if you go physical, like to a Walmart or whatever, and only $20 if you buy it through the Nintendo Switch eShop. And so that's an amazing game, I think, for children and even adults alike, because yes, you can play local multiplayer as well, and you can play single player, so it really fits all of those things. It's a sports game. It kind of gives them that aspect of teamwork and everything like that, but it's also really easy to play, and it's enjoyable to get better at and start getting better goals and being better with your team. It's just a lot of fun, so I'd recommend this, especially if you like sports or if they kind of like sports, but they might not be old enough to play something like Madden, NBA, 2K18, stuff like that actually requires rules and a lot of coordination with the controls. This is an amazing game to play at that age. The next game on this list is Yooka-Laylee. Now, Yooka-Laylee is kind of similar to Super Mario Odyssey in the sense that it is a platformer. Super Mario Odyssey, you take over a lot of other enemies, and it has that kind of unique game mechanic, whereas Yooka-Laylee, you are Yuka, and Laylee is also with you. It's kind of a two-character dynamic, and Yooka-Laylee is a platform with a bunch of unique worlds, unique enemies, and bosses, but being able to use that mechanic of jumping farther or using Laylee to walk faster and things like that, those are things that you can do that are a bit different than Super Mario Odyssey. But I recommend Super Mario Odyssey over this game first because I just think it's a better game. But Yooka-Laylee is $20 cheaper, so that is something that kind of makes significance. If your child gets Super Mario Odyssey and they love it, or if they just love platformers, and if you don't know what platformers means, it's just when you do a lot of jumping and moving across platforms. There's puzzles where maybe a platform will scoot in and you have to jump on it in time before it scoots all the way in and you drop down below, things like that. So it's got that basic idea of gameplay of just jumping around, climbing up stuff, that kind of thing, and it's a lot of fun. And I think Yooka-Laylee, especially if they like Super Mario Odyssey, you should get it. And if they don't really like Super Mario Odyssey, maybe Yooka-Laylee is more their speed. You'll be able to see some of the gameplay footage here that can kind of help you decide which looks more like the one they'd want to play. But I think they're both great games. Super Mario Odyssey is just a better one. This is just another great platformer on the Switch with no mature content and a great game for kids. Another game that I think every child should play is Minecraft. I'd be surprised if you haven't heard of Minecraft at this point, but the amazing thing about Minecraft is that A, there's no mature content, but B, it's all about creativity. You basically just get dropped into this world, and everything that you see, every piece of ground, every rock that you see is something that you can break and then take around and build with it. So you can chop down a bunch of trees, and it just takes one button press to chop down a tree, and then it just goes into your inventory. The inventory is super simple and easy to manage. You chop down a bunch of trees, you press one button and you start building, and you press a button, a block falls. You press another button, you put that wherever that button is pressed, it goes on top. So to build a house, you just press a button, move a little bit, press a button, move a little bit, press a little button, move a little bit, and then move your cursor up, press a button on top of that other block, and it just puts on right there. Super easy, really, really, really simple to understand, but it can really blossom creativity, especially in young children who have those creative ideas. If they can wrap their head around the basic controls and play it for a little bit, I've seen kids make amazing things, better than I could even think of in Minecraft. So this is a game that really flourishes with creativity, allows imagination to happen, and so many kids play it. I bet if you get it for your kid, 5 other kids they know have Minecraft and can help, and they can play together online. They can actually go into each other's worlds and help each other build and help each other scavenge. It's such a fun game to play, and it really, really inspires creativity. And like I said, it's so simple that almost anyone can pick it up, even a really, really young child. So I would recommend Minecraft, especially if you want your kids to be creative and kind of think outside the box. This is the game for that. There are quite a few Lego games on the Nintendo Switch, and if your child has played games for any period of time, they've probably got Lego games, or at least seen Lego games, played them at some point. They're really cool because certain Lego games are themed off of movies. They've had Lego Harry Potter, they've had Lego Star Wars, they've had a bunch of different Lego Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings. They've taken so many different franchises and turn them into Legos, and the Nintendo Switch is no exception. There are a few amazing ones. For instance, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. It's a Lego superhero game with hundreds of characters, a bunch of unique little story bits, and huge maps that are a joy to play, and the game is just super fun. The voice acting, the characters, everything about it exudes charm, and if you ever played a Lego game, if your kids ever played a Lego game, game and maybe they didn't like it before because they were kind of boring or anything, something like that, or if they loved it, this is a perfect one to jump into on the Switch. It is such a blast to play, and I personally love the Lego games. I like the charm, I like the dorkiness of them, but they're also really fun to play, and I think Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 is one of those top-notch, this is pushing the boundaries of the Lego games over and over again, and I'd recommend, especially if a kid likes any kind of superheroes at all, they could get into this game. It's really aimed at families and children, especially if you like superheroes, and if they do at all, they like Lego games, they like superheroes, they like fun, enjoyable, big experiences, Lego Marvel Superheroes is for them. That's because it's a Lego game, it's also really simple. It's not complicated at all. Anyone, even a young child can jump into this. Just a couple buttons, that's all you press in the entire game. So it's a joy to play, and I would recommend picking this up, especially if your kid liked any of those things. Again, this is a game that has co-op and can be played by multiple members of the family as well, and people online. So that's another aspect of it too, is if you want to play co-op with your kid through the experience, you can do that as well. Another game has that, and that's also Lego City Undercover. The idea of Lego City Undercover is you're an undercover cop, obviously, in this massive open world. If you're an adult and you play games at all, you've probably heard of something like Grand Theft Auto, which is a massive, huge open world with a ton of really mature stuff, like really over the top. You steal cars, you do all this kind of thing. It's obviously Grand Theft Auto. It's a huge open world where it's just mayhem. You can do whatever you want in it. Lego City Undercover is the child-friendly and family-friendly version of Grand Theft Auto, is the easy way to put it, where there's a big open world for you to enjoy. You can do tons of different vehicles, there's all kinds of quests you can do, you can cause mayhem if you want, but it's not anything like in Grand Theft Auto where you're just running over people and flying in the air. Like, this is a game where it's super family friendly. You can play in co-op, so you can do missions together, you can each drive different cars and go to different locations and have a blast, and that's one of the cool things about Lego City Undercover, and especially because it's got cheaper now. I think it's only $40. It's definitely worth it for $40, especially if your kids like Lego games, they like playing and co-op experiences, or by themselves. You can definitely play it by yourself and just exploring and having fun in a big open Lego world. This is that game. I think Lego City Undercover is awesome. The last Lego game that I'm going to talk about today is called Lego Worlds, and this is basically like the Lego version of Minecraft, where you just drop into a world. You can play together, you can play online and co-op, so you can play with other people, but basically you're dropped into these procedurally generated worlds, and procedurally generated means it's random, like when you jump into a world that's just randomly generated by the computer, and everything that you see, you can manipulate, you can take it, you can turn it into something else, you can go build something somewhere else. So it's very similar to Minecraft, but in the Lego form, and it's actually the same price on the Nintendo Switch. I think they're both $30. Depending on whether you like Minecraft or Lego, one of those could be better than the other. It depends on your kids' desires, what they like to play, what looks cooler to them, but both of them are really great, and Lego Worlds is fun because it has a bit more character, whereas Minecraft is very left up to the person to be extremely creative. Lego already has that bit of charm and character to the world and to the characters, and so you can kind of change that up as you go, but there's a little bit already there, whereas Minecraft is very like, you're just in this blank world, make it into your beautiful canvas. So that's one thing to consider as well. Also, I think Lego Worlds is a bit easier to pick up and also a bit harder depending on how it is, because Minecraft just has a few buttons, so does Lego Worlds. Minecraft is very simple, everything is blocks, it's just one type of thing, whereas when you're manipulating stuff in Lego World, it can be a bit more complicated, but it's not complicated enough to where a young child couldn't understand it. Again, they could totally understand it in this game. I really think it comes down to look at the games, look at how you make them, what you do in them, and decide based off of that. Would my kid like Minecraft, where it's very base, it's super simple, there's only blocks, that's all they're going to have to deal with? Would they like that more, where they can be extremely creative, or would they like this Lego world that can run around and mess up, just make huge holes in the ground and then take that materials and put it other places? You know, Lego World is totally going to probably appeal to a younger kid more, and that's why I think it's more up to you to decide which one you think and kind of show them how to do it. But Lego Worlds is a bit easier, I think, for younger kids to get into. Another awesome racing game like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch is Cars 3 Driven to Win. I definitely think Mario Kart 8 is a better game in general, but especially if your kids like things like Cars, the movies, that is what this is based off of, this is an amazing game because it's a lot of fun, it's more kid-oriented, whereas Mario, I love playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still to this day, because Mario Kart is aimed at every age group, whereas Cars 3 is definitely more aimed at a younger audience that likes cars. If your kids are fans of cars and they like racing games, I would pick this up for them. I think it's a lot of fun, and maybe if they really get into this game, then afterwards get them Mario Kart, where you can play more with them. You can enjoy Mario Kart more than you could ever enjoy Cars 3 as an adult, so that's definitely something to consider as well. If you want to play and you want to play with your kids, Mario Kart 8's probably the one to play, but I think both are good choices. Again, it just depends on the kids' play style, what they like more, what you like more. Cars is, I think, $20 cheaper, so that's something to consider as well. Maybe you're able to get 2 games for your kid because Cars 3 is $20 cheaper. I don't know. That's all things to consider, but they're both good games. They both have ups and downs about them. Cars 3 definitely isn't as long and it doesn't have as much replayability, whereas Mario Kart can be played forever, eternally, and everyone always continues playing it because it's so good. But overall, Cars 3 is a good game. It's enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. It really throws to the movies and it has enjoyable characters, whereas Mario Kart is much more about the racing. Cars is about the characters and the story and the kind of stuff that goes on. So that's an aspect to think of as well. So the last game on this top 10 list of Nintendo Switch kids games is Snipper Clips. Now, this is probably the most advanced game I put on the list. A young child is not going to be able to play this. A developing child can, especially if they can understand basic shapes and things like that. But the thing that's really good about this game is meant to be more played as a family. For instance, you as a parent might really enjoy playing this with your child and helping them choose, helping them figure out things, being like, hey, you need to have your head cut like this, like in a little circle, so you can take in the ball, so you know how to cut a little circle out. You can use this as a teaching opportunity, and it's also really fun as an adult. The puzzles take some figuring out, and maybe you'll be surprised at what your kid can think of and what they can figure out that maybe you were missing. So I think this game is a really great game for families to play together, especially because the story mode has a lot to go through. There's tons of challenges and stuff. I think this game is aimed at 2 things. Like I said, a family dynamic where you're an adult playing with a younger child, or trying to get your child to figure out complex problems, to figure out how to solve things, because that is what this game is. It's more problems, and it's meant, I mean, the name of the game is Snipper Clips Cut It Out Together, so it's meant to be played with multiple people, and that's the joy of it, is that you can play as a family and really have some fun and think through problems and just be able to sit down and solve a few things, spend some fun time together, laughing, figuring it out, you know. That's one of the cool things about this game. While the other games can all be played alone, this game is really meant to be played with a family, but it's a kid's game. There's definitely no mature content. You can see by the graphics and the gameplay, it's really dorky and stuff. It's a lot of fun, so I think this is a great game to play as a family and with kids. Alright guys, that was my top 10 kids Nintendo Switch games. I hope you enjoyed the list, and if you have any other opinions, if you want to ask questions, if certain games are good for kids, if I missed any that you want to put in the comments below that maybe I can put in the next video, let me know. Just leave a comment below. We can continue the discussion and maybe have your guys' opinions. If some of these games are bad for kids, some of them are good for kids, what you like and what your kids are more into, let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, if you're new to this community and you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that subscribe button for new content every single day, and don't forget to give that like button some love. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's continue to create the greatest gaming community in the world.